More things going on in Howard County. We get some state issues as well with the Howard County Executive, Calvin Ball. Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
it's good to have you on.
Well, good morning, and I hope you're making a wonderful Wednesday so far.
And we have so far.
You never disappoint. Put that one down. Wonderful Wednesday, okay, Zach? You never disappoint, County Executive.
Wonderful Wednesday. Yes. Alliteration. We love alliteration. All right. Well, I don't know if you love what's going on with the school system, at least with the bus situation. Lots of different angles I want to ask you about these things. And we say this knowing that, you don't run the school system. You aren't just give the money to the school system and a lot of money to the school system. Let me start by asking if you have seen improvements. Do you think that it is better? Has it been fixed maybe even?
Well, like you said, we give money to the school system. Since FY20, we have actually increased the school system transportation budget by about 40%, from about $43 million to nearly $60 million, with more than $8 million increase just over last year. However, what we are seeing is that more than 90% now, according to the school system, of our students are dropped off in the mornings on time, and more than 90% are picked up in the afternoon on time. And so I think that there is great improvement, but, people are still frustrated, understandably so, upset, understandably so. And I think that the school system is already committed to completing an after-action report and a performance audit.
Well, so speaking with the County Executive from Howard County, Calvin Ball, always great to have you on, County Executive. When it comes, though, to this bus situation, the Zoom company that was contracted with, that many of the routes were having problems with this company, has people in from out of state, and I believe they're supposed to be leaving at the end of this month. Do you have any assurances, or is your office aware that once they transition out, and I guess some new drivers are being prepared to come in, that they will continue at that 90% level, because these folks are going home soon?
Well, my hope and what I've heard from the school system is that they have more drivers than even last year, and they're not dealing with an approximate 100-driver vacancy. And so my hope is that they are backfilling and preparing for those drivers. But, the Board of Education has indicated that they will do a 60-day review at the beginning of November, and then, again, that comprehensive after-action assessment. And so I think this is going to be an ongoing issue that they need to work on. They're showing some improvement. I know that they're working hard. They're being solution-oriented, and I think that every student, every family member deserves and is demanding excellence.
Yeah, they are. We hear it on a regular basis, but you've given them more money in the number 90% now. It certainly wasn't 90% a couple of weeks ago, but even 90%, I mean, that's barely an A when you expect perfect results, essentially, for making sure that kids are getting to school and getting home from school. I'll just ask you simply, do you have confidence in the superintendent, Michael Martirano?
Well, I tell you what, it's the Board of Education who works with Dr. Martirano on his contract, and I think everyone right now is being solution-oriented. I've worked with Dr. Martirano on making a lot of improvements and a lot of investment over the last few years, and I'm confident that we can continue working together to address these issues and allay parent and student concerns.
So when you say that, with the chief operating officer having resigned as a result of what's happened, and there are parents, I have to tell you, County Executive, who are texting us, contacting us, that they are very upset with what's happening. You feel that Dr. Martirano should stay with this, because some people are asking that he step down as well.
Well, I tell you what, the Board of Education is a separately elected body. They oversee the superintendent. They have much more insight than any of us on his performance and their expectations. So I can't make the decision for them, nor do I think any politician or elected official should. However, I am going to continue working with the Board of Education and with the superintendent as long as all of them are in place.
One last question on this for me, and that is, the contract that went to this national company Zoom, which obviously they've failed or did not do a very good job, at the least the last couple of weeks, and it's a big contract. I think the number was $23 million or $27 million over 3 years, somewhere in that range. Are you at all curious about how that came to be, and whether or not they deserved this contract and why they received the contract?
I am. I mean, anytime that there are epic failures by contractors, I think that there should be an evaluation, and that's why I'm very glad that there will be a performance audit. We need to understand what happened within transportation that led to these issues, why these issues weren't mitigated prior to the start of the school year, and how they can be addressed moving forward.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's been some speculation, and I don't know if it's true or not, but one of the reasons why they got it is because they have promised to be all electric in the next 5 years. Do you think that played a role in them getting this bid?
Honestly, I wasn't involved in any of those conversations with the superintendent, his Office of Transportation, or the Board of Education. You know, my role as county executive was to ensure that, you know, we had safe walking routes, and that's why we invested in infrastructure improvements. In fact, we had more than 85 transportation and infrastructure improvements across the county to enhance safety, connectivity, access, prepared or almost done just before the school system started, and including even more than 20 new crosswalks. So that was part of my role, making sure that we had crossing guards, working with our wonderful police department to ensure that we were building on those 48 existing crossing guards and ensuring that, you know, we hired more.
We're speaking with Howard County Executive Dr. Calvin Ball, and staying with youth on this issue, County Executive. We spoke with County Executive Johnny Olszewski yesterday. We talked with Mayor Brandon Scott last week. And to a person, other leaders of the jurisdictions are saying these juvenile justice reforms, while may have been good intentions at the time of putting these reforms in place, have led to a lot of young people not facing consequences for a lot of the rise in crime that we have seen. I saw a statement I just wanted you to expound upon it. Where do you fall on Annapolis revisiting some of these juvenile justice reforms?
Well, I'll tell you what, Howard County is a place where residents shouldn't only be safe, but feel safe, and that's residents of all ages and ability. And so we've seen with some of this very well-meaning legislation some challenges with our police department. You know, we want to empower our officers to do their job well and to ensure that, you know, not only are they keeping our neighborhoods safe, but they are also safe. And so we've seen a lot of challenges with the new laws when it comes to arresting young people who are actually committing crimes and holding them accountable. So I think that there needs to be another evaluation and more work. But that is not uncommon in Annapolis. Every session, they evaluate, they try to make some progress, and then they come back next session if there needs to be a better conversation.
Do you think, though, that some of those laws have negatively affected your ability to combat crime?
Well, I think it has made it more difficult for some of our officers to work with some of our young people who need to be held accountable. I definitely understand that we want to ensure that our young people have access to justice and that they are safe. However, I think that unfortunately what we're seeing is some older people are now trying to find loopholes and using younger people to commit crimes, and that's just a shame.
County Executive Ball, when it comes to your role as the head of MACO, and your vice president was with us yesterday, Johnny Olszewski, so I asked him kind of the same thing. Collectively, can MACO go down to Annapolis and try to get some fixes to some of these juvenile justice reform? One example is Mayor Brandon Scott had tried to have legislation in last year. When a young person is sent home with a monitor, with a device on their leg, ankle bracelet, those bracelets are not monitored for 48 hours. So anything can happen in that time period. What he was trying to do was get it in real time where you could make sure these young people are doing what they need to do. That type of thing, could you all promote or go fight for those type of changes?
Well, at the local level, we know that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where our police departments, our sheriff's departments are actually implementing a lot of these laws. And so as I'm going around, I'm speaking with local leaders in every jurisdiction in Maryland, and all of us recognize that there's an opportunity to improve upon these laws and work with our state leaders. I know that Speaker Adrian Jones, Senate President Bill Ferguson are level-headed, they're thoughtful, they are leaders who believe in collaboration, and I think that we can work with them, and I anticipate that MACO will have a very strong voice in ensuring that these laws allow us to do our jobs well.
So, look, we had 15 teenagers arrested or at least wanted in Anne Arundel County this past weekend. We know that there's a juvenile crime crisis going on in Baltimore right now. Johnny Olszewski, the Baltimore County executive, talked about the juvenile crime statistics that are rising greatly in Baltimore County as well. Are you seeing similar problems with juveniles? Are you seeing a big spike in juvenile crime? What is going on in Howard County when it comes to juveniles?
We are seeing so many of our young people, some who are just struggling with the impacts from the pandemic when it comes to socialization, some who are seeing the uptick, who are involved in the uptick in vehicle theft, particularly catalytic converters. It's something that we're seeing nationwide, whether it's learning how to do that on TikTok or older people trying to encourage them to do certain things. And, we're trying to help our young people. That's one of the reasons why in the spring we announced our Youth Engagement Programming Initiative, which a lot of people call YEP. And that is where we work with about 30 nonprofit organizations, and I invested $1 million. And it looks like more than 1,000 of our young people have participated in YEP programming over the summer, and we might have nearly 4,000 participating this fall. We need to invest in our young people. We definitely need to hold those accountable who are committing crimes because they need to learn those life lessons, and frankly, it'll help them. But a lot of our young people are hurting, and we need to help them heal.
One of the things that your county executive from Howard County, Calvin Ball, you're talking about is you're the first county in Maryland to have whole blood for transfusions by your EMS folks. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, my gosh. It's such an exciting, pioneering medical initiative with a whole blood program, and we are the first in the state to implement it, a ground-based EMS department. And until now, the best practice for EMS first responders who are dealing with these types of injuries was to stop the bleeding and get them to the hospital as quickly as possible. Now we can save time and save lives. The whole blood programs allows trained staff to administer low titer type O positive whole blood to select patients, including our young people and pregnant women, right there. And so, from September 22 until now, more than 4,000 trauma patients out of about 20,000 EMS patients were transported in Howard County. And while not everyone will receive whole blood, this can save lives.
Very good. What's good? What's good in Howard County? What's happening that's all positive? I know we always ask you tough questions, or we try to ask you tough questions.
Well, I appreciate that. And, we all need to help our listeners and our residents and visitors know that, even as local elected officials, we're being held accountable. But one of the things I'm excited about is we just expanded our Feed the Green Bin program. It's our free composting service. And now we are going to have 6,300 more homes who are able to participate in composting. And the composting now expansion, about 60% of our households will now have access to the Feed the Green Bin program, and that will help reduce a lot of waste and actually have more organics that are in our landfill. So that's exciting, and we recently cut the ribbon on 8 new pickleball.
I was going to ask you about that.
Wow.
Man, pickleball is taking off, and Howard County is on the leading edge.
All right. I can see you out there now, County Exec. You got your pickleball
do you have a matching racket with shorts or like a T-shirt or something like that?
Well, I don't want to show off or anything.
Well, County Executive, it's always great to hear from you, but this juvenile crime crisis is something that I think all of us as parents and as adults really want to get our arms around. Thank you so much for your time.
Good to have you on.